Everything is Awesome is part of Courts and Parts, a podcast network featuring pop culture, TV, movie, and geek podcasts. Check out some of our other shows, like TV Ate My Brain, Let's Chat with Revelin Friends, and Podstalgic at courtsandparts.com.
Awesome.
Just tell people they're awesome and mean it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Did you have an awesome time? Did you drink awesome shooters and listen to awesome music and then just sit around and soak up each other's awesomeness?
Awesome. That was awesome. You guys are awesome. No, you're awesome. You are awesome.
Sir, you are awesome. Seriously.
Awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Welcome to this week's edition of Everything is Awesome. I am your host, Kev, and this is the show where we sit down and talk to awesome people about awesome things. Before we get to this week's guest, I just want to remind everybody that you can give us a call at 267-223-4965. Let us know if you have anything that you want us to play on the air. You can also email us at awesome@crudenumberstudios.com. You can snail mail us, if you're into that, at P.O. Box 177, Fiddler's Hills, PA 19030. Of course, you can find us on the Twitter at RealAwesomePod, Facebook.com/RealAwesomePod. I believe there's an Instagram out there as well, at Awesome Podcast. And of course, we are part of the Core Temp Arts Podcast Network on CoreTempArts.com. Of course, you can always find us on AwesomePodcast.com. And of course, I don't go into this enough, and we'll get to our guest in just a second. But make sure you help us out if you have the time or the money, depending. There's plenty of ways. Some cost you money, some are free, to support this show and what we're doing here. You can go to patreon.com/thatentertains. That's where you can pledge some money. You'll get some stuff in return, and it just kind of helps pay for some equipment costs and hosting fees and stuff like that. You can also, free for nothing, support us by giving us a 5-star review on iTunes. I keep forgetting to talk about these things, but a 5-star review on iTunes would be a huge help in just helping spread the word. And of course, word of mouth recommendations are always appreciated. This week's guest, finally, we've been trying to get her booked for quite some time. She's a podcaster in her own right. She's an actress. She's played the Evil Queen, and she's also acted alongside Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Please welcome Batman. What are you doing here, Batman? And why do you have a chair? Batman, put the All right, Kev. Enough of you babbling about nothing. All right, it's time that I've been on this show without you, all right? It's time that Batman gets his time to shine, and I don't need your help. I don't need you interviewing me. In fact, I have my own idea for a show. People have asked for it. If you go to Twitter, people have demanded that a show be on Batman on Fatman. Hit the music! Na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Kev Smith. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Kev Smith. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Kevin. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Smith. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. This is na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, Batman. Na-na-na-na-na-na-na, on Batman. Yeah, jazz fingers. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. All right, welcome to this week's Batman on Fatman. I am your host, the Dark Knights, the Gotham Avenger. I am Batman. And this is a show where we sit around and talk about my favorite film director and podcaster, that Kevin Smith. That Kevin Smith. The guy who has worn my ears as Bluntman. That's right. Kevin Smith, the director. This is episode 1 of Batman on Fatman. And we have some, just like his podcast where he sits around and he talks and talks and talks some more. That's what I'm going to do here. All right. No more of that nerdy Kev, that imposter, that Kevin Smith wannabe, that loser is no longer on this podcast. All right. It's Batman from now on, from here on out. So we have a couple of topics to talk about today in the world of Kevin Smith. let's start with some of his podcasts that he's been doing. Oh, and you know I love his podcasts. One of my favorites that he does is Hollywood Babylon. That's right. Hollywood Babylon, him and Ralph Garman. Now, obviously, I spent some time in the great city of brotherly love. It's like Little Gotham, if you ask me, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I love it here. I come here often, usually at the request of Kev, but today I'm here on my own to take over the show. And, I read recently, if you're in Philadelphia and you want to watch the Babel Brothers, the dynamic duo of podcasting, then you can see them live on November 3rd, 2017 at Punchline Comedy in Philadelphia. That's right. And the following night, that Kevin Smith will also be doing an evening with Kevin Smith at Punchline on November 4th. So make sure you check those things out. But that's not all the podcast news we have. No, that's one of the most recent Kevin Smith podcasts from Smodcast. He did a show where he goes deep diving into his origins. That's right. Y'all thought that it started with Slackers, but no. It started before Slackers. That's right. Run KEV was a fan of Run DMC, and he goes through those lyrical genius, the lyrical genius of Run DMC, and goes through the things that compare him and them into how he came into be a filmmaker. Oh, and of course, Fatman on Batman. You would think this is my favorite podcast of his, and it was at one point. There were days when Kevin Smith would sit around and pine over me, the Dark Knight. There was days where he would talk to Paul Dini, Jim Lee, Mark Hamill, and it would just be him and them talking about Batman and my greatness. But now it seems like all they do is talk about everything else but Batman. You want to hear about Star Wars? Well, you go to Fatman on Batman. You want to hear about the Avengers? You go to Fatman on Batman. You want to hear about that pussy, the Flash? You go to Fatman on Batman. All right? But if you want to hear Batman, you want to hear about Batman, well, you go to darkknightnews.com, if I'm being honest. The number one fan site for all things Batman. All right, let's get on to some other things here. Before we hit up the things that Kevin Smith is known for, let's talk about, he has this segment on Hollywood Babylon called Hollywood Helpers. And you know what? Kevin Smith was a Hollywood helper himself recently. Well, it all started when his daughter kept on putting off donating a bunch of clothes to a women's shelter out there in L.A. And then he went out there. He went out to L.A. and he lives in L.A., so he didn't really go out there. But after presenting an award to Finn Wolfhard of Stranger Things and the movie It, he went to the women's shelter and donated these clothes, and he was a goddamn hero. That's right. Maybe not quite the hero of me, of the Dark Knight, of Batman, but he was at least the same type of hero that the Flash would be. You know, kind of just running around and pushing people over and not doing much else. So that's kind of the level Batman is helping on. He's running around, driving around really, because it's Kevin Smith, and he's driving around donating clothes. That's some real street level Flash quality heroing, if you ask me myself. But that's good. It's good that he did that. Because the women shelters are just full of women that are in desperate need of help. Find your local shelter and donate anything you can, because it is a sad state when women from domestic violence or women tricked into drug abuse, and they find themselves eventually needing help. So please help. He is really doing the Lord's work. In the TV world, as we all know, Kevin Smith tried getting Mallrats and that off to one of the several streaming sites or HBO or something like that. That did not work out. Unfortunately, I love me some Mallrats. It's our introduction to Ben Affleck, the guy who has portrayed me most recently on the big screen. The best thing in Batman vs. Superman, that piece of shit movie from Zack Snyder. But the best thing was Ben Affleck, and we first get introduced to Ben Affleck in the Kevin Smith world in the movie Mallrats. And he's also working on some Spawn properties that we have really no news on. But season 7 seasons of a TV show, give it up. Give it up to that Kevin Smith. It's hard to get 7 seasons of a TV show. And he does it with Comic Book Man, starring Walt Flanagan, Brian Johnson, Ming Chen, and Mike Zipzak, and of course, Kevin Smith. Check it out. It premieres on AMC on October 22nd, after The Talking Dead. And it's going to be a wonderful season. I really love what the boys do over there on Comic Book Men. Now, last but not least is the news that we have coming out from the movie world. That's right. He's tried getting Clerks 3 made. He's tried getting Mallrats 2 made. Well, he's not making Tusk 2 or Yoga Hosers 2. Thank God. I mean, Kevin Smith, I'm a fan of yours. I'm a huge fan of yours. And that dipshit Kev that hosts Everything Is Awesome, he may love Tusk and he may love Yoga Hosers. But Jesus Christ, dude, let's get back into what you know. And that's Jay and Silent Bob, all right? Jay and Silent Bob in their reboot movie. I can't wait for this one. Here's some news that's dropped recently. This fall, he goes into production. How awesome is that? This fall, Jay and Silent Bob rebooted in production. I'm going to try to get down to wherever they're filming this movie so that I can get some on-screen, uncredited extra time. That's right. You can see the dynamic duo, the one half of them at least, the Dark Knights. You can see me in Jay and Silent Bob rebooted. If not, you'll at least see that cosplayer Silent Bob dressed as me when he's dressing up as Plutman. But even bigger news is perhaps the biggest star to ever come out of the View Askew universe, Brian O'Halloran. Oh, he's coming back to Jay and Silent Bob, baby. That's right. And he's not just coming back to play Dante. No. Every iteration of that Hick family, Dante Hicks, Gail Hicks, Billy Bob Hicks, Senor Hicks, whoever Hicks he's played, we're going to see Brian O'Halloran back in a Clerk shirt, baby. I'm so excited for the world of Kevin Smith. Every single day we get new podcasts, from Smodcast, the Hollywood Babylon, to Fatman on Batman, which could be better if he incorporated more of me, of course. Oh, we can't forget about Tell 'em Steve Dave, not starring Kevin Smith, but starring the boys from Comic Book Man. That's right. Love that show. High five to those three. Fuck. That Get 'em Steve Dave, though. Get 'em is a piece of shit. He doesn't deserve to lick the dirt off my boots. Anyway, make sure you check out all his podcasts on Smodcast.com. Make sure you check out his Twitter handle at that Kevin Smith, so that you know where to find him and where you see him doing his TV shows and his movies and all the other stuff that he's doing. And make sure you hit him up at that Kevin Smith and let him know that Batman at the Batlog, he is a huge fan. That's right. Batman wants to work with him one day. And not in a comic book sense, and not in a podcast sense. Though I will totally do a podcast with him if he wants to interview me, the Dark Knights. I will totally be on that show in a heartbeat. All right, that's it for Batman on Fatman this week. Make sure you check me out on Twitter at the Batlog. Make sure you check out this show. It's going to be on the Everything Is Awesome feed at Real Awesome Pod. Make sure you check out the loser at that Nerdy Kev. And make sure you tell him how much of a punk he is. Make sure you tell him on Twitter how he doesn't deserve to write for DarkKnightNews.com. That is a respectable news site. And that he doesn't deserve to lick the dirt off of their boots. That's right. Damien, the owner, is an amazing person. But this guy, Kev, he really, really grinds my gears. All right. Until next time, I've been Batman, and this is Batman on Fatman.
Thank you for listening to the Court and Parts Podcast Network. To listen to more Court and Parts shows, visit courtandarts.com.